Although the defendant expressed that she has a headache and is not able to proceed, she was able to fully advocate on her own behalf and articulate to me the reasons why she doesn't think she can proceed and seems to be of sound mind and ability to proceed.
Bueller. If you're a fan of the 1980 movies, that line probably brings back images of a smooth-talking teen named Ferris Bueller, faking sick to skip school and spend the day joyriding around Chicago. If you remember, he lounges in bed, he fakes a cough, he gets pampered by a clueless mom, and then boom, he's off living his best life. Well, now, flash forward nearly 40 years, and we're in a courtroom in Maricopa County, Arizona, and the stakes couldn't be different. This woman, at the center of it all, isn't some lovable high school slacker. It's Lori Daybell, a convicted child murderer and widow of more than one dead man. And now she's standing trial for conspiracy to murder her niece's husband, Brandon Boudreaux. But just like Ferris, Lori showed up in court this morning in the full "I'm too sick to function" mode. And unlike Ferris, well, she wasn't fooling anybody. So let's break down what happened and what it says about Lori, this trial, and the psychological game she's playing. Well, hey folks, I'm here in the mountains. I'm getting some things done, but I couldn't keep from listening today to this trial as it's going on. Now, welcome to Profiling Evil. And you know, I gotta be honest, there are days that I still can't believe we're talking about Lori Daybell. After all the funerals, the tears, the convictions, the heartbreak, this woman still somehow is here. She's still dragging the court system through the muck and mire with another courtroom performance, but this time she's doing it in a wheelchair, claiming that she's too sick to stand trial. But here's the thing, this isn't about her. Not really. I mean, this is about Brandon Boudreaux, the man she's accused of trying to have murder. Brandon survived what the state of Arizona says was a targeted hit, allegedly planned by Lori Daybell and executed by her brother, Alex Cox. Now, Brandon survived, and today, for the first time since that attempt on his life, he got to sit in the courtroom and hear his name as a victim, not as a sidebar, not a footnote, but the center of a criminal conspiracy to kill him. And you know what? That really matters. And a lot of you have wondered why we're wasting the money on this thing. Because it matters. He deserves this moment in time. It matters that the justice system didn't simply forget, that Arizona picked up the pieces that Idaho left behind and said, we've got unfinished business. And maybe it wasn't something that Idaho left behind, because this was Arizona's problem long before Idaho. So as Lori Daybell rolls into court, pretending to be too sick to go on, we're going to call it what it is. Another manipulative ploy by a woman who's used theatrics to dodge accountability, I think, her entire life. But the stage is different now because Brandon Boudreaux isn't standing still. And Lori, she's finally back where she belongs. So hit that like and subscribe button, ring the bell. That way you're going to get all of our notifications. And let's dig into this a little bit here. It was nearly theatrical. Lori rolled into court today, literally in a wheelchair. She wore her trademark stoic expression, flanked by attorneys and a paralegal carrying outfit changes like some entourage on a film set. Her defense? She was too sick to participate. Headache, fatigue, inability to function. She wanted another delay in the already crawling conspiracy to commit murder trial she's facing. But unlike Ferris Bueller's fawning parents, Judge Justin Baresi wasn't buying it. You see, the judge had done his homework, and at his request, the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office conducted a medical examination on Lori just the day before, yesterday morning. The jail's medical team found no clinical reason to excuse her from court. And when pressed for details, Lori didn't provide a shred of medical documentation. Instead, she asked the judge to seal the sheriff's findings. Let's watch that hearing.
All right, we're going on the record, State of Arizona versus Vallow Daybell, CR 2022-001242. Can I have appearances, please?
Trina Kay on behalf of the state, and for the record, the victim is present in the courtroom.
All right.
Daybell for the defense.
All right, I'm going to need you to scoot up to that microphone. We also have present in the courtroom a representative from the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office. Do you want to announce?
Yes, Your Honor. Joseph V. Hill on behalf of the Sheriff's Office and Correctional Health Services.
All right, after court on Monday, immediately after court, I ordered the Sheriff's Office to provide some sort of medical assessment of the defendant. I received a pleading late yesterday afternoon indicating that Correctional Health Services examined the defendant around 12:30 p.m. yesterday. The defendant was treated for one condition, and Correctional Health Services has indicated that from a medical standpoint, we do not find any clinical indications to miss court. Is that correct, Mr. Vigil?
Yes, Your Honor, and we have additional information if you need it, but it's not much. But
All right. All right, let me turn to the defendant.
This is like a HIPAA violation coming up here.
Your Honor, first of all, can all of this be sealed? Anything that having to do with my medical? I don't think that's something that all of this needs to be sealed, including the minute entry and
Hold on.
the response from MCSO, all these things.
I can seal the response from MCSO, yeah, but to the extent, well, do you have any other information you want to provide me as to why you're not medically able to proceed? Right now, the only objective information I have is that you were assessed and CHS sees no clinical indications of why you need to miss court.
They told me
If it's
that
something you want to discuss on sidebar, we can do that.
that would be great.
All right, I'll ask. Intends on proceeding with jury selection today. Depending on how things go, I don't know that I would make the parties do their opening statements or not, but that remains to be seen today. The court finds that the court has not been provided any objective medical information of why the defendant can't proceed today. Although the defendant expressed that she has a headache and is not able to proceed, she was able to fully advocate on her own behalf and articulate to me the reasons why she doesn't think she can proceed and seems to be of sound mind and ability to proceed. So we're going to bring the jury in. How many jurors do we have? We're still missing 6. Mr. Vigil, you can be excused.
thank you, Your Honor.
We'll give those jurors a few more minutes. If you don't want to do that, you don't have to do that, but that's up to you how you present. All right, we'll be at recess.
Now, I want to pause here for a minute, because if you're genuinely too ill to stand trial for a capital level felony, wouldn't you want the world to know your medical team backs you up? Instead, she whispered, she deflected, and eventually she demanded a private sidebar with that noise, that white noise pumped into the courtroom so that nobody could hear what was going on. It was a Ferris Bueller level drama, but without the charm of a parade float. And Judge Baresi, he wasn't amused. In fact, he didn't just shut her down. He gave the court a master's class in patience and judicial spine. At one point, the judge plainly stated for the record, quote, "I'm going to observe the defendant. Her mannerisms appear perfectly normal in front of a jury, but when the jury's not here, she can no longer speak," close quote. Holy cow, boom. And you know what? He wasn't exaggerating. While the jury was present, Lori was sitting up. She scribbled notes. She asked prospective jurors about detailed questions about gun ownership, whether they went to the range or not, their criminal histories, even whether jury duty was something that was on their bucket list. How many of you want to be on jury duty? But the moment those jurors exited the courtroom, the theatrics began again. She slouched over. Her voice dropped to a whisper. And suddenly, she was too frail to go on. You know, it's a pattern we've seen in narcissistic and manipulative ways before. This feigning weakness to garner sympathy or to buy time, maybe even to play puppet master with the court. But this time, the court didn't dance. So I thought it was a perfect time for a little Ferris Bueller meet Laurie Daybell. And as a piece of advice, if you get too nauseated listening and watching Laurie's cross-examinations coming up, take a break and go watch the movie Ferris Bueller's Day Off. At least you'll be smiling at the end of that clip. Well, let's look at the comparison to the movie Ferris Bueller's Day Off and this real-life drama. Ferris faked a fever so that he could twist the day to his advantage. He wasn't trying to hurt anybody. Laurie, she did the same, but her faking isn't about fun. It's about stalling justice. Her version of a day off is delaying accountability in a courtroom where she's accused of plotting to murder a man in cold blood. This didn't happen decades ago. It wasn't some theoretical scheme, but it was a very real, very specific attempted hit job on Brandon Boudreaux, carried out by her brother, the executioner, Alex Cox, who, let's not forget, is now conveniently dead. Laurie Daybell has already been convicted in Idaho for the murders of her 2 children, Tylee and JJ. She's also convicted of conspiring to kill her 5th husband's wife, Tammy Daybell. And she's convicted of conspiring to kill her husband, Charles Vallow. That's why the stakes in Arizona are so dang high. This is a woman accused of weaving conspiracy, religious extremism, and deadly intent into every chapter of her life. And yet she showed up today hoping a little theatrical groaning and moaning in a wheelchair entrance might delay the inevitable. If it wasn't so sinister, it would be laughable. But despite her best attempts, the jury got seated. 16 jurors, 8 men, 8 women. They watched the show unfold. Laurie, she asked them questions about their gun knowledge, their experiences in court, their views on law enforcement. She even thanked a female juror for her military service. She probed jurors about firearms familiarity, and she even threw in a little flattery toward the one person who sells guns at Bass Pro Shops. But this wasn't just small talk. It was strategy. Laurie's trying to find the angles. She's trying to figure out how to leverage. She's trying to figure out where her sympathizers might be. And you know what's really terrifying? She's just smart enough to know how to sound a little bit reasonable. She's calm. She's articulate. She's even polite at times. That is until the jury leaves. And then we go back to the "I'm too sick to go on" script. Well, unlike Ferris Bueller, Laurie doesn't get a dance on any parade float. There's no catchy soundtracks, no high school hall passes. She's on trial for orchestrating a murder. You see, according to the state of Arizona, on October 2nd, 2019, Laurie and her brother Alex Cox conspired to kill Brandon Boudreaux. Brandon survived, miraculously, but the intent was still there. The planning was still there. The stalking was still there. The motive was still there. It wasn't a one-time thing. And prosecutors are expected to paint a picture of a woman who saw people not as loved ones, but as obstacles that needed to be removed, either spiritually dark or financially inconvenient. And that's where this case differs from anything that Hollywood could ever dream up. Because behind every courtroom stunt, behind every wheelchair roll-in or that whispered voice, there are real victims. Some are alive, some are buried. But like it or not, Lori Daybell, opening statements are going to begin tomorrow, so you better rest your voice. That is, unless you think it makes you sound vulnerable, punished by the system, or that you're a victim of everything around you. Well, today, Judge Baresi wasn't playing games. He confirmed the jury instructions were read, and the court resumes tomorrow at 10 a.m. for opening statements. He told jurors that this should go pretty quickly and it would wrap up by about June 23rd. The media, they can stay, but they're not allowed to zoom in on defense documents or courtroom computers. So that means we're going to be able to watch this one. And today, as court proceedings wrapped up, we witnessed a miracle. After spending the morning slouched in a wheelchair, her eyes low, her voice barely above a whisper, after claiming a headache so unbearable she couldn't possibly endure a trial, Lori Daybell delivered a moment that even Ferris Bueller would have stood up and slow clapped for. Because just after the session adjourned, she rose. No assistance, no grimacing, no trembling limbs or dramatic stumbles. She stood like Moses parting the Red Sea of reason. She was cool, calm, collected, and she strolled right out of that courtroom on her own 2 feet. No wheelchair, no escort, no trace of that fragile damsel that we'd seen just hours before. It was, dare I say, biblical. A courtroom resurrection. And if you blinked, you might have missed it. But if you were watching closely, really watching, you saw it for what it was. A one-woman show. Act 1, too sick to stand trial. But Act 2, the miracle in Maricopa. Even Ferris himself, king of the faked sick day, would have tipped his sunglasses and whispered, respect. But this isn't a coming-of-age comedy, it's a murder trial. And while Ferris played hooky for laughs, Lori's playing games with the justice system. And folks, I think the jury's going to be watching, and I guarantee Judge Baresi will be. Lori Daybell will undoubtedly continue performing, whether she's playing the sick victim or the savvy pro se defendant. She's controlling the scene, or at least trying to anyway. But this isn't a movie. There's no happy ending, no audience applause. It's just a courtroom that has a grieving family in it, a surviving victim in it, and a judge who thankfully has had enough of Lori Daybell's games. So I hope you found this breakdown to be helpful. We'll get together after opening statements and kind of talk about the prosecution strategy and the psychology that I think Lori is going to be banking on to sway this Arizona jury. So until then, hit that like and subscribe button to Profiling Evil. Please leave your comments down below and take time to weigh in on each other's remarks. Watch for Profiling Evil on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter. And if you like audio podcasts, check out Profiling Evil's audio podcasts on your favorite podcast platform. That way you'll get your true crime fix anytime you're out on the road. And if you really want to understand how somebody like Lori Daybell takes a path like this, check out my book, Deceived, an investigative memoir of the Zion Society cult. It is the story of a cult that acts much like this one did in the way that it recruited people, maintained control of them, and even convinced seemingly intelligent people to commit violent crime. I think you'd really enjoy the book, and I think you'd find it interesting. And let me tell you something, if you live in the United States, I'll sign it and I'll ship it to you for free if you buy it through profilingevil.com. Otherwise, anywhere else in the world you can get it through Amazon. Hey, thanks for your support of Profiling Evil. We'll see you soon at the next crime scene.